The Pokemon games are no strangers to ROM hacks, and for this week we are looking at a fairly unique one that replaces all of the Pokemon with characters from the Sonic the Hedgehog universe. The creator of this ROM hack is the Pech, and there will be a link to his channel in the description below. And with that out of the way, now it is time to find out, can you beat Pokemon Fire Red with only Knuckles? The reasons why I decided to use Knuckles are simply because he is my favourite, as well as giving me an excuse to put "and Knuckles" in the thumbnail. Anyway, the rules I have set for myself are, I can only use Knuckles in battle. I can however catch other Pokemon, as well as I will technically need them for HMs. I'm not allowing myself to use any items in battle other than held items. And with that, let's get started. When we get to choose our Pokemon at the beginning, usually we are given the choice of Sonic, Silver or Shadow, but for this challenge I replaced Sonic with Knuckles using the Universal Pokemon Randomizer. That said, Oak still refers to him as Sonic here. Time for the first rival battle, and my rival took Shadow for some reason, even though he has Dark Fighting, which would have been weak against Sonic's single fighting type, but whatever, it's good for me as Knuckles is also pure fighting type. Granted, we only have Pound and Roar at the moment, but Knuckles is blessed with a pretty high attack stat and I'm able to sweep past this fight with little issue. Speaking of his stats, let's go a little more in depth. Knuckles is a glass cannon through and through. He hits like a dump truck, but he is seriously lacking in his defenses, as well as not being as fast as Sonic or Shadow, which I suppose makes sense. All this means that I will probably need to keep a few levels above my rival Shadow if I want to have a chance of outspeeding him later in the run. Just north of Pallet Town I knock out a few Tailses just to see how I stack up, and it's not too bad so far. I get to level 8 off of Tailses and then encounter my first small hurdle when I try to fight a wild Motobug. It's part steel, as of right now all I have is Pound, meaning I can barely scratch the thing. I decide to grind on more Tailses until I reach level 9 and learn a new move. Sadly, it's only Focus Energy, which doesn't really help a whole lot, but I'll take what I can get. Moving on, I encounter some other Knuckleses in the grass just left of Viridian, which I then train on before attempting the optional rival battle. He has his own Knuckles now, but thankfully I have the level advantage and I'm able to take it down, but not before it gets me to less than half of my overall health. Next is Shadow, who I'm surprised I'm faster than with only a 2 level advantage, but he then immediately uses Scary Face, making that feeling incredibly short-lived. I'm able to take him down in 3 hits, but better yet, it gives me enough experience to hit level 12 and learn Spin Jump, which is a fairly great fighting move this early in the game, as it does 50 base damage, and along with Knuckles' same type attack bonus, this is going to greatly speed up grinding. Making my way north, I arrive at Viridian Forest, which is actually called Badnik Forest now, meaning it is filled to the brim with Badniks, who are basically all Steel type, barring a few exceptions, meaning Knuckles can one-shot just about everything here. When I get to Pewter City, Knuckles is already level 15 and fairly powerful at that, so not wanting to overlevel too much, I head straight to the gym to at the very least see what Brock had on his team. Well, for starters, he had 3 Pokemon instead of the usual 2 like in the normal game, which made me a little concerned initially. That wasn't until I realised his 3 Pokemon, Grounder, Scratch and Rock Jamarl, were all weak against fighting, and from there, Knuckles proceeded to tear straight through his entire team and got us the Boulder Badge. Also, I'm pretty sure Scratch and Grounder's names are mixed up, but I could be wrong as it's been over 15 years since I watched Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. After leaving Pewter City, I fought past all the trainers on the way to Mount Moon and was in absolute disbelief when Knuckles hit level 20 and learned Spin Attack, which not only did 15 more damage than Spin Jump, it also had 10 more power points than it, making it better in every single way. Mount Moon was once again much like the forest, filled with nothing but Steel types, so I won't waste your time. Just know that I leveled up a bunch and that I took the Helix fossil, for it was the only fossil. Once at Cerulean, I make a dash straight for the gym, and shockingly, I don't just steamroll through her entire team like I did with Brock. In fact, she beats me. This is mostly due to her actually having water moves to use on me, coupled with my terrible special defense, making for a pretty one-sided fight on her end. It's not a big deal though, I just need a few more levels and I should be fine. This next rival fight lasted less than a minute, as everything went down to a single Spin Attack, except his Psychic Hedgehog Aeon, who I knew would resist it, so instead I used Mega Punch and that was able to do the trick. Nugget Bridge was also rather underwhelming as Knuckles continued his onslaught across all of Kanto. Something odd did happen when he hit level 26, in that his graphics got a lot better, and now rather than hitting like a dump truck, he was more like a freight train. Right before getting into Bills, Knuckles ripped the head off this small rabbit and in turn learned how to Spin Dash, which, by the way, is another fighting move that does 80 damage. That is insane. Naturally, I replaced Pound with it as it does have less power points than Spin Attack, so it's worth to have them both in my opinion. After we get the ticket, we head back to Misty, and thanks to Spin Dash, and a roughly 10 level advantage, we are more than able to destroy her pitiful team and continue on to feed Knuckles' thirst for blood. Upon reaching Vermilion, I immediately grab the bike voucher as to not forget it like last time, and then board the SS Anne and make a beeline straight for the rival fight because I am currently level 31 and don't require any more grinding for the foreseeable future. His first 2 go down with no real issues, and I thought I may be in trouble when I saw that his Shadow was now super, but he was still part dark and slower than me to boot, so again, an easy one shot. Lastly was Bean, and shockingly, he goes down in 1 hit. Who would have thought? Once we get cut from the captain, I have an absolutely miserable time trying to find someone who can learn it. I was really hoping this Echidna could learn it because of the stupid pun I made for its name, but sadly it was not meant to be. I eventually got lucky enough to catch a Scratch which could indeed learn Cut, and thankfully could now make my way into Surge's electric gym. I was able to get the puzzle on my first attempt after finding the first switch, which was something that excited me more than it should have, as the pace of this run at this point was just going so well, barring that one loss against Misty. Surge! I feel bad for Surge. Not only was it looking like it was going to be a pretty one-sided victory for me, but in the middle of the fight, Knuckles leveled up and learned homing attack, which, you guessed it, is another fighting move that is stronger than the ones we already had. And it has more power points. Needless to say, Surge's last Pokemon, his electric chat, really did not deserve to be on the receiving end of that. Remember how less than 2 minutes ago I mentioned about how the pace of this run was going great? Well, after entering Rock Tunnel, that changed completely. Not because I couldn't find my way through it or got lost, but because of this one single hiker right near the end of the tunnel. Why, you may ask? Well, simple. This right here is Beta. He seems like a completely normal robot, so probably Steel Flying, but no. He is in fact a Ghost type, and seeing how Knuckles only has fighting and normal moves, we can't hit Ghost types. So I basically have to wait until he knocks me out, send me back to the Pokemon Center, and forcing me to go through Rock Tunnel all over again. Not only that, but now I was desperately trying to find a move to teach Knuckles that would let him hurt Ghosts. As it turns out though, none of the TMs I have can be taught to Knuckles, which means there is only one other thing that we can do, and that's use up all the power points of Knuckles' moves so that he can use Struggle to attack Beta, as in Gen 3, Struggle is a typeless move, so it will hit anything. While it does take a while to use up all of my power points, I am lucky enough that other than running into the occasional Beta, none of the enemies in here pose any kind of threat. By the time I drain the last of my points, Knuckles is level 37, so he is more than able to take out Beta with 2 struggles. Thankfully after this, the rest of the cave has no more surprises in store for us, and I make it to Lavender Town to heal up and decide where to go next. Obviously, I can't even attempt the Pokemon Tower yet, as no doubt it'll be filled with more ghosts, and there was no way I was relying on Struggle the whole time. I decided that just going to Celadon would be the best idea, as it has plenty of things I can do. Once arriving in Celadon, I have the idea to try and win some money at the slots in hopes of buying a TM that will hopefully let me hit the ghosts. This idea didn't get very far though, as from what I can gather from the moves you can buy from the game corner, Knuckles would not be able to learn any of them. For the time being, I decided to just go to Erica's gym and see if maybe Knuckles will level up and get something that'll help us proceed. Everything in this gym is between level 20 and level 30, so as is a norm at this point with the gyms, I am able to sweep through with no issues. I desperately tried to see if Knuckles could learn the TM for Bullet Seed, but it was just wishful thinking sadly. Well, next up on the chopping block was the Team Rocket hideout, and considering they all use robots which are steel types, nothing manages to even come close to surviving a homing attack from this seriously pissed off Echidna. I do like the fact that Eggman is Giovanni, that is a nice touch. Fingers! Well, after that was rather quickly dealt with, I was becoming incredibly anxious that I would have to struggle my way through the tower, but then I had one last idea that just may work. I left Celadon and went to get the HM for Fly, as all you need to get it is a Pokemon with Cut, and wouldn't you know it, Knuckles can indeed learn Fly. So with a massive sigh of relief, I taught Knuckles how to fly and flew back to Lavender Town to take on the Pokemon Tower. The rival fight in the tower is no more difficult than the one on the SS Anne, if I'm being honest, as his team are still in their 20s. The only one of them that would have caused an issue was Sonic.exe, as I found out after attempting a spin dash that he was a ghost type, but seeing how he just went and learned Fly, he was taken out in one hit, and I was able to continue up the tower with no issue, mainly thanks to stocking up on a bunch of repels beforehand. I may be able to hit ghosts now, but I'd still rather avoid them if I can, as only being able to hit them with Fly means the fights tend to last twice as long. There was no ghost at the top of the tower, which makes me wonder if I even had to get the self-scope in the first place this time. If anyone has played this before and knows the answer to that, let me know in the comments. After getting the Pokeflute, my curiosity gets the better of me and I immediately go to see what Snorlax has become. Probably pretty obvious, but he has become Big the Cat. He is still just normal type though and goes down in one homing attack. First things first, in Fuchsia I get all the items in the Safari along with the HMs for Surf and Strength. I also catch a Delta and teach it Surf for when we need to go fight Blaine shortly. But before that, I need to take out Koga. Other than his Iota, which he sends out first, the rest of his team are Dark types and so they all go down with one homing attack. And so another incredibly simple badge was earned and it was off to Saffron. I did plan on going to the fighting dojo as is what I usually do in Saffron, but it's completely gone for some odd reason. Disappointing, but understandable as a majority of the Pokemon are fighting types in this ROM, so it wouldn't make much sense for this to be here. With my options rather limited, I decided to just go through the Sylph Tower. While exploring, I did find this TM for a move called Lightspeed, which is an insanely great move that not only has a 150 base power, but it's also a fighting move, so it means it gets the same type attack bonus. It also has 100 accuracy, so unlike other overpowered moves, it's likely to hit, and to top it all off, it has priority, meaning unless your opponent is faster and also using Lightspeed, you will always hit first. Needless to say, yeah, I taught Knuckles the move, and then from there proceeded to immediately try it out in my rival's team, and as you can imagine, it went very, very poorly for them. Afterwards, another painfully boring fight with Eggman and his robots that still can't even manage to land a single hit on me. Last thing to do now was take on Sabrina. Before the fight, Knuckles learned a new move called Fury that raises his attack by 2 levels, which is great, seeing how he already is a glass cannon, so making sure he one-shots things is pretty important. When the fight started, I decided to build up 1 stack of Fury, but what I didn't expect was for her Omega to use Hypnosis and put us to sleep. From there she hit us with an extra sensory followed by 2 Dream Eaters, which was more than enough to knock out poor Knuckles. A little annoying, but if I don't use Fury straight away, chances are I can win. Sure enough, on the next try I used Lightspeed, which is able to one-shot Omega, bypassing the dangers of being put to sleep. Next up is Super Silver, and I assume he is psychic and fighting, so I risk building a stack of Fury, which thankfully pays off as he only uses Calm Mind, and now we can easily take him out with a Lightspeed next turn. Lastly are her 2 Psychic Emeralds, which both go down to 1 Lightspeed each, which lets us press on with little issues. That said, how fast her Omega was able to beat me does have me worried and makes me think I might need to start grinding fairly shortly. With Sabrina taken care of, I travel back to Pallet Town and go to surf down to Cinnabar when I notice this weird triangle. Interacting with it puts me in a battle with Infinite. He also seems to be a ghost type, but he is also only level 5 for some reason, so he very easily goes down in a single fly. Well, that was strange. The mansion at Cinnabar is also filled to the brim with .exe versions of Sonic, Tails and Knuckles, which are all ghosts. So with that in mind, I just use repels until I can find my way down to the bottom to grab the key. Okay, so time for Blaine, and he starts by sending out Blaze. I build up 2 stacks of Fury while she in turn hits me with 2 Blaze kicks that bring me down to just 55 hit points. That said, since we now have +4 to our attack, I am more than strong enough to sweep through his whole team with light speeds. I feel like this move is going to be what wins us the run when we get to the Elite Four. With Blaine defeated, all that's really left is the final Eggman battle in Viridian and the Elite Four. But rather than heading straight there, I just had to know what Articuno and Zapdos have been replaced with in this ROM. I would check Moltres as well, but I really don't enjoy the Sevi Islands, so I'm not going there. When we go to the right, rather than ending up in Seafoam, we end up in Mephiles' cave. So yeah, if that wasn't obvious, Articuno has been replaced by Mephiles. Seeing how he is level 50, I was prepared for a pretty tough fight. Doubly so when I found out he was part ghost, but all he hit back with was Chaos Spears, which weren't very strong, and Nightshades that would do 50 damage each time. I just did the smart play and built up Furies and then hit him with a few flies to whittle him down until I got the knockout. Next I headed to the power plant to find Chaos instead of Zapdos. There isn't a whole lot to say about this fight. 1 Lightspeed brought him down to a sliver and his water moves just did not hurt me at all, so 1 homing attack after that was more than enough to win the fight and get some easy experience. Now for the final gym, and let's not waste time, he was a complete pushover like usual. Nothing but steel types that by this point are no match for us at all, making for what is probably the easiest badge so far, if we're being honest. Now for the final rival fight just before the Elite Four, and I was not prepared for this. First up was his Knuckles like usual, who has now evolved past us and is Super Knuckles. That said, he still goes down to a single light speed, so no problems there. When his newly evolved Hyper Shadow comes out, however, things quickly change. He manages to survive a light speed due to the fact he doesn't appear to be part Dark type anymore, and then hits us with a massive super effective Aeroblast that brings us down to 31 hit points before he manages to finish him off next turn. After that, he sends out Aeon, who is Psychic, meaning my fighting moves won't be as effective. So I go to use Fly on him, but it's just not strong enough, and he holds on with a sliver of health and takes us out with a homing attack. Okay, so his Pokemon are just barely able to survive our attacks, so with 1 stack of Fury, I should be fine. Next attempt, I try just that. His Knuckles is just using bulk up, so I instead go for 2 stacks of Fury just to be extra safe, and from there it's a complete breeze as I am more than powerful enough to take out his entire team with one-shots. All I have to say about Victory Road is that it's filled with more robots, so other than maybe running out of power points, there was not any real issue. Skipping ahead to the beginning of the Elite Four, Lorelei starts with Delta, who, shockingly, is part Steel, so a single homing attack is more than enough to knock it out. Next up is Waterfee, who manages to just survive a homing attack, even after 1 stack of Fury. But worse still, it manages to get a lucky critical Crab Hammer on Knuckles, bringing him down into the red. Knowing that she was going to use a full restore, I built up another stack of Fury to guarantee the one-shot with the next homing attack. Next, I use Lightspeed on Chaos as he is technically a legendary, and I had a feeling he would tank a homing attack, and thankfully it does one-shot him. Everything comes crashing down, however, when I somehow get outsped by her Water Chow and get taken out to a muddy water. Second attempt, and I start by maxing my attack out on Delta while he takes me down to 27 hit points. From there though, 1 homing attack is enough to take him out. Thanks to the maximized attack, I'm able to one-shot both Waterfee and Chaos with a single homing attack, meaning I can use the light speed I would have used on Chaos for the Water Chow to make sure it doesn't outspeed me again. The last Pokemon she sends out is Chaos 4, I'm guessing the evolved Chaos, so I don't take any chances, and just in case he's faster than me, I use a second light speed and win the match. Afterwards, I also give Knuckles 3 rare candies I forgot I had, to hopefully give him even a little extra defense or speed to help out with the rest of the Elite Four. Next is Bruno, and I'm able to get his Knuckles down to a sliver while it builds up a Fury. So knowing he will just heal him, I also build up a stack just to be safe, after which we have no problems knocking him out with a second homing attack. Next up is this Fighter Merle, which goes down to a very lucky critical fly, not sure if it would have worked otherwise. After that was his 2 Supersonics, who were definitely faster than me, so I took the first one out with Lightspeed, and then to save the power points I used homing attack on the second, but not before eating a hyper attack that thankfully wasn't too bad all things considered. Last up was E109 Kappa, and like all the other E series, he is part steel, and therefore one homing attack knocks him out, securing us the victory. Agatha was the one who I was honestly worried about the most, as I couldn't rely on anything other than Fury and Fly during these fights. And to put it bluntly, Knuckles in his current state is just not strong enough to take down her team, as they're able to whittle me down with Shadow Balls that will never miss, and then from there I will always be slower than her Sonic.exe who kept finishing me off. But that's okay, because I have something that I can do other than grinding. Now that Knuckles had the power of Pink on his side, he was able to outspeed her Sonic.exe. That said, this still wasn't exactly a cakewalk, as Fly still doesn't do that much damage to them, and they still continue to hit me with Chaos Blast and Shadow Balls, but thankfully two Flies were able to take down Sonic. Next, shockingly, she threw out Methless, who honestly could have completely ruined us, but all he tried to do was land hypnosises between Flies, which kept missing, and we were able to take him down in just 2 hits as well. Her last Pokemon was Dark Shadow, who is, funny enough, Dark type, so one Lightspeed is able to take him out and let us move on. Believe it or not, but unlike a normal Pokemon run, Lance was by far the easiest and a complete joke. A lot of his team are actually weak to fighting moves, so this fight was honestly over before it really felt like it had begun. Time for the final fight of the run, and he starts with his own Super Knuckles, and we both build Fury before I take him out with a Light Speed. But then his Hyper Shadow comes out, and something I had been fearing this whole run finally happens. Not only is he faster than us now, but he also knows Light Speed, meaning he will always hit first, even if we both use it. That is, unless I can level up enough to become faster than him. That even being said, when I do finally get a run where I'm able to knock him out, we are left at half health, and next out is Infinite, who as we know from before is Ghost type, so all we have now is Fly, but in a twist that I never saw coming, he was faster than me, and he has a super effective move that takes us out with almost no effort. Now while that is soul crushing, there is no way around it I suppose, so I need to go and grind for a bit. I decided to just grind on the Elite Four as it is honestly a lot faster than relying on the random encounters in Victory Road, plus it lets me have a go at the champ after every few levels to see how I stack up. I come back at level 70 and have this run where Shadow doesn't use Light Speed, and I'm able to get to Infinite with full health, but it's still not possible as he is still faster than me and either puts me to sleep and knocks me out or just uses 2 back-to-back Chaos Bursts, which also knocks us out. But I am close though, as Fly with a few Furies is almost enough to one-shot him if I can get to him again with enough health to survive a Chaos Burst. Once I hit level 80, and after many attempts, I get this run where I'm able to build up a Fury against Super Knuckles and then take him out with one homing attack, and from there, me and his Hyper Shadow exchange light speeds as he is still too fast for me. His brings me down to around half, but mine as usual is an easy one-shot. Up next is the Hurdle himself, but thanks to the extra levels, we are just about able to take Chaos Burst, leaving us with a minuscule 18 hit points, and from there we land a Fly that thanks to the extra attack and Fury stack is finally able to one-shot Infinite, meaning we still have a chance. Next up is Shattuck, and I legit accidentally misclicked and selected homing attack and my heart sunk. But to my surprise, not only were we faster, but it was also enough to knock him out. Next was Super Mecha Sonic, who was never going to be an issue due to the type disadvantage, so a single homing attack is enough for him. And the final Pokemon or Hedgehog of the run that stands between us and beating the challenge is Super Scourge, who seems to be a purple Sonic with a biker jacket and sunglasses. Okay. Well, regardless of his odd appearance, he could still one-shot us, but either we got lucky or he doesn't have light speed, but we land one final light speed that manages to take him down in a single hit, ending the fight and winning the game, proving yes, you can beat Pokemon Fire Red with only Knuckles. Sort of. That was a super interesting challenge that was honestly pretty short. It only took me about half the time of the Charmander only run. Other than the part encountering ghost types in the middle and the champion at the end, this was a pretty straightforward and easy run. It was also fun to do a challenge run for a slightly different version of a game that I've played so many times before. Once again, a massive thank you to the Pech for creating this insanely fun Pokemon Sonic ROM Hack mashup. As I said, there's a link to his channel in the description. Go show him love and let him know how cool this ROM hack of his is. And with that, that's going to be the end of this challenge run video. If you enjoyed, consider giving the video a like, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you'll know when I upload my next challenge video. My name's Nerbit, and I'll see y'all in the next video.